Welcome back to the CharCole Podcast. This is episode number 13, I believe. It's kind of losing track here. And today we're gonna get into it with our pick'em contest results for week 8.
Week 8, a lot of things happened. Out of all of our locks, only one lock won, as Wisconsin, which was favored by 31 over Illinois, lost. The only correct lock last week was Coach K's lock. He had number 10 Georgia, which was 25.5 over Kentucky. He was correct there. Everybody else took Wisconsin over Illinois, so we don't really need to go over that.
We all lost.
Dawson, his upset was Texas Tech over Iowa State. Iowa State took the game. Cole's upset Syracuse over Pitt. Pittsburgh won the game. But the only two upsets that won were mine and Coach Denning's. I had Kansas State over TCU, and they in fact beat TCU by quite a bit.
Yeah, it was more than 3.5.
Yep, and Mr. Denning took UCLA, which was +4 over Stanford, and Stanford won by just a little bit, I think. So.
Yeah.
Mr. Schaefer, he took Hawaii, which was +3 over Air Force. Mr. Hetland took Washington, which was +3 over Oregon. And so did Mr. Christensen. He took Washington, which is +3 over Oregon also.
So overall, we went 3-11 that week, and just some standings here. Myself, Charlie, and Coach K, we are all tied in first at 8-4. Tied for fourth is Dawson, Mr. Denning, and Mr. Schaefer at 7-5. And bringing up the rear, as he quite usually has so far, is Mr. Hetland. He is at 500, 6-6, but that's not going to cut it. So
yeah.
Now for this week's picks. Dawson and Mr. Christensen didn't get their picks in, so I just picked them for him, so the exact same. So Dawson and Mr. Christensen both had Nebraska over Indiana as their lock, and their upset TCU over Texas. My lock, I chose Utah over Cal. Utah's favored by 21.5, and my upset is number 8 Notre Dame +1 over number 19 in Michigan.
I had number 17 Minnesota, which is 16.5 favored over Maryland, and I took number 8 Notre Dame, which is +1 over Michigan, number 19 Michigan.
Mr. Denning also took Minnesota over Maryland as his lock, and he also took Notre Dame over Michigan as his upset.
Mr. Schaefer took number 21 Appalachian State, which we can probably talk about this here real quick. Appalachian State is not ranked. This is the first time that's happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Anyways, Mr. Schaefer took Appalachian State, which is -26 over South Alabama, and his upset was Central Michigan, which is 2.5 over Buffalo.
Mr. Hetland chose number 17 Minnesota over Maryland as his lock, and his upset he chose Michigan State over number 6 Penn State.
Mr. Christensen, he took Nebraska. Well, we already talked about him and Dawson. They both obviously took Nebraska over Indiana and TCU over Texas.
All right, and with that, it's going to be a rather short podcast compared to our usual length. But with that, we are going to get into the wheel, and no shocker, or no surprise, my computer's going to die soon. But we'll spin a couple times anyway.
We can bring a few things up too.
Yeah.
A few interesting things coming with the week, I guess.
Topic number 5. The NFL. This is Doug Peterson's quote from before the Cowboys game. We're going to go down to Dallas, and we're going to win that thing. What do you think about that?
Okay, obviously, if you don't know what happened last week, Dallas really played some phenomenal football
they
with
really good.
Dak Prescott, who really didn't play well. So, what are happening to the Eagles? Because there was people who legitimately thought that the Eagles had Super Bowl contention. They just dropped one to the Vikings. They just dropped one to Dallas. If they lose another one, it's going to be look out.
I think they're going to...
It's a downward...
They're still kind of in that Super Bowl contention, I believe, if they can pull it together. But I think if they lose this next game, I don't even know who they play this week. Excuse me. But if they lose this game, I think that takes them out of Super Bowl contention because it's just you can only go up from here, but maybe they go down. So I mean, it's really hard to tell, especially since last year they basically the same team as last year. But I mean, I don't know what's happening to it.
And it's weird. I mean, their offensive line. I mean, they're obviously a dinged up team here and there, and it's hard for Carson Wentz. I mean, I have him on a fantasy team, and it's a hard year for him. he can't put up consistent numbers throughout the years. I mean, it's hard for him to really play well if he doesn't have anybody to help him out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Topic numero
4.
Yeah, 4. NCAA football, SDSU versus NDSU, also the site of College Game Day this weekend. What are your predictions?
Well, before we get into this, Larsh and I are going to be heading to College Game Day, getting up awful early on Saturday morning to head up and be a part of the festivities. It's going to be a fun one. I'm really excited. But I did a little bit of research this week on everything that's going down in this game.
Yeah, you've done a lot of research.
Jabore Gibbs, obviously the quarterback for SDSU, is having a great year so far. He needs to put up one game and of at least 200 plus passing yards because they cannot run the ball cannot run the ball. I mean, obviously they have a strong running back core, but they need to pass the ball because they have 2 really good wide receivers in Cade Johnson and Jackson Yankee. So they need to be able to pass the ball, but defensively they're stout. I'd be surprised if NDSU scores more than 20. I mean, it's going to be something else if NDSU gets points on the board. The defense is going to be a defensive showdown. And it's going to be not what everyone wants to see, but it's going to be what happens.
Yeah. It's going to be a packed stadium. I can guarantee you that right now.
It is already a sellout crowd announced by SDSU. First one in Dana J. Dykehouse history. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be, and they're expecting 25,000 people for game day, by the way. That is absurd. Especially when you think of the town of Brookings. It's not that big.
Yeah, well, I mean, so, you have NDSU and NDSU people, though, coming.
Yeah.
I know Jesse Hastings, the NDSU fullback recruit from here, he said he's going to go see if he can get in there. But final predictions, though. If you could predict a final score, who do you have?
I think it's really hard to tell, but I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of 21-17.
Yep.
And in favor of NDSU.
Yep.
Because I think they just have more overall talent. Like, they can pass and run the ball. They're also the defending champions. So, I mean, in a big rivalry game, everyone plays better in a rivalry game. So it's going to be a good game, but I think NDSU is going to come out on top.
I see your point. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to go with SDSU just because I'm a fan and all. But I'm going to take one thing I would like to talk about before I make my final prediction is Chase Vinatieri is having a not-so-good year this year. He's missed quite a few field goals in important times. Obviously, they haven't had an important game yet. But it's going to be really difficult for the Jacks to win if they can't get the ball to go through the field goal.
If they can't kick a field goal,
So my final prediction is going to be 23-21 Jacks.
All right.
If Jabore Gibbs can get the ball thrown around just a little bit and use his feet,
I think so, yeah.
Jacks are going to win by – because NDSU's not preparing for a passing. They're going to be up there. They're going to be stopping the run. And what Stiglmeyer needs to do is just throw it on the top of them.
Yeah. Topic number 8. Are the Vikings proving themselves as a playoff team?
I think they are so far. In these last 3
yeah.
weeks, it's almost hard to say not to. Everybody's clicking on all cylinders, but one thing that they need to work on is a little bit defensively. They've always been that great defensive team, but now offensive coordinators are starting to figure out some things that work.
Yeah.
I think so.
I agree with you completely. I think they are proving themselves as a playoff contender, but offensively, they're just clicking. And what starts all of that is Dalvin Cook at the running back position. If you can get a run game established early, and they're too busy stopping the run, pass it over their head.
And that's what happened.
That's what's happening to them is they're establishing a run game with Dalvin Cook, arguably one of the best running backs in the league, but obviously you have McCaffrey, so that's basically out of the question. But I mean, if you can establish that run game, your passing game is really easy. So I think that's what their key to success is so far, and that's what they've been doing.
Yep. I think that defensively they really need to hone in on the defensive line. I mean, the linebackers, obviously some of the best linebackers in the league, especially with their brains. They can make really great reads. If you watch Eric Kendricks I'm not really a huge fan of him, but he makes some of the best plays for the Vikings. And he really does great things for the Vikings. But I'll go back to the defensive line. Danielle Hunter has not been having the season he had last year. He's obviously still great, but the offensive lines are double teaming him because they know what he can do. Right now, he's on pace for a first team Hall of Fame ballot. He is just doing absolutely phenomenal. But he needs to get 1 or 2 more sacks plus in these next couple games if he wants to.
I think so.
Really make it to. I mean, it's hard to say he's not going to go to the Pro Bowl because he's just a great player. I heard a stat that right now he is on pace to go to the Hall of Fame with as many sacks, and he's going to break the record. He's already had the most sacks for his age. It'll be really hard for him. But if we flip the other side to Everson Griffin's that run stopper, that pass rusher, that guy that's going to make a swim move inside and get you run.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a pass rusher and a run rusher, but in the middle we got Linval Joseph and Stephen Weatherly, and the big boys are really struggling this year to try to get any push because the linemen, I mean, obviously Linval Joseph is going to have to go against Garrett Bradbury in every practice. So they're going to compete and they're going to get better amongst themselves. Yeah. But the defensive line needs to really focus on getting better.
I think so too. And that's really, I think like their only downfall of Vikings is that defensive front. And I'm not saying they're bad. They're just not as good as they're good. You can't say otherwise, but they're just not as good as they have been.
Yeah.
In years prior.
I heard a stat that I think 9 of the 11 starters have been on the team for, I want to say like 7 years.
I believe it, yeah. Topic number 1, NCAA football. Can Wisconsin rebound after their loss?
The only way this is possible is if they beat Ohio State Saturday, hands down. The biggest probably game in the country. I don't know why College Game Day didn't go there. I mean, probably they were going to. They planned on it, but then they're like, oh, Wisconsin lost. It'd have been a Ohio State matchup here, Wisconsin here. Whoever wins is going to be in the college football playoff, hands down. But guess what Wisconsin does?
They lose.
Yeah. So they go to Champaign, Illinois, and lose to Lovie Smith and the Illini. It's not good. Not good.
No, not the greatest situations.
They have a chance to get in the college football playoff if they beat Ohio State, but if they don't, season's done. I mean, it is. They'd rather just look towards the next year.
Well, yeah, the season isn't done, but basically their chance for making the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they'll make a bowl game.
They had 35% chance or whatever to go to the playoffs before they lost to Illinois. Then they lost. Now they're down to like 2.
Yeah.
Like that's an impressive.
But if they beat Ohio State, it's gonna hop right back up.
It's gonna hop right back up to 25.
Because a big team's gonna make a Big Ten team's gonna make the CFB. I mean, or playoffs. You know. Yeah. So I mean. It's gonna be an interesting Saturday across the nation, especially in Brookings and in Ohio State. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of good matchups. So.
Okay. Getting
a little down there.
Yeah. We
only had 13 to start, so that's number 7. Class 11B high school football. Who wins the thing?
Okay. I wanna basically stall for a second and get up this bracket so then we can go through with you guys to tell you. Or we're gonna go through every single matchup if we can.
I think that's what we should do.
I think we should do it too. But I think right at the top we know Bridgewater and Hot Springs is at Bridgewater. It starts at 6. Just to get Hot Springs home a little bit early because they know it's going to be a killing. Yeah. Hot Springs barely got into the thing. Got into it by I believe it was a tiebreaker, but nope, just about a tiebreaker. But they got into the thing just barely, and then they have to travel all the way from Hot Springs to Bridgewater. Bridgewater takes the thing almost by 50.
If not by 50, I mean. But so, we both in agreement there. We have Bridgewater, Emory.
Yep. The next game is Sioux Valley and Sisseton. This game's in Volga. If we take the right route, we might go through Volga on Saturday morning. And we go to Brookings. But I think that it's going to be a good matchup between two teams that are really different in style. Sisseton tries to run that whole spread jet thing, And Sioux Valley is going to be the team that is like comparable to the Minnesota Vikings. They have a really decent running back that can run the ball really great when he wants to, but then they're going to throw it over your head.
Yeah.
One of their pretty good wide receivers.
So I think this is actually going to be an interesting game. It's always those really close seeds that are always the most interesting. But 8 and 9, I think I'm going to have to go with Sioux Valley.
I am too, because System just hasn't played the teams. Sioux Valley's played some great teams this year, and that's what's going to really help them.
Yeah.
The next game, we got Mobridge Pollock versus Garrettson. Garrettson is at the 13 seed because they've played Bridgewater, they've played Winter. I mean, I don't know if they've actually played Winter, but they've played some great teams like McCook.
Yeah.
So
don't sleep on Garrettson.
Yes, the 4-13 could be an upset. And I took the upset, and in my little bracket deal, this is my only upset in the whole thing, was Garrettson over Mobridge Pollock, because if you look at Mobridge Pollock, Groton area, a football team, which really isn't great.
Yeah, no.
Almost beat Mobridge Pollock last week.
Yeah, I mean.
So I'm taking Garrettson because they've played the better team. Obviously, they're going to have to go to Mobridge. That's going to be a trip and a half, but, I mean, it's going to be, I think Garrettson prevails.
You know, this is also, I think this might be closer than Sisseton Sioux Valley, but gosh, this one's tough because either way you pick it, you feel like you're wrong, and it could go the other way. So, I mean, flip a coin, basically. I mean, I don't have a coin on me, but in our bracket pick-em, I picked Mobridge just because, I don't know, they've won all their games.
I haven't seen any of these guys' film, and obviously we've played Garrettson in the past.
Yeah. They weren't a team to sleep on.
Yep.
I mean, we might have won that game by, 35 or something.
And I think
they really fought through the entire thing. So.
It's something to note that these guys have came up from 9-man this year and made the jump from 9 to 11 this year and come in as a 13 seed. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm going to, even though my bracket over there for the class says Mobridge, I'm going to pick Garrettson just for the heck of it.
Okay, the next one is the 5-12. 5-12s always get upset in the NCAA bracket, but this one's going to be hard to get upset.
This one's not going to get upset.
McCook Central Montrose, which has lost one game, ends up being the 5 seed. Plays Stanley County, the 12. Stanley County, obviously the Gabriel kid. It's going to be hard to stop him, but I think McCook just outplays them with their defense. Their defense from McCook.
And their really fast offense, and that's how they outplay everyone else. So.
What gets McCook is when teams can understand their philosophy. So, say the Titans of Mount Vernon Plankton play Winter. Winter comes up and brings a bunch of blitzers. We just down the whole thing, and there we go. Well, the teams that don't do that and run 5 and spread offenses with 5 down linemen, they can't stop that. Yeah. So McCook is just too fast for Stanley County, and I think they run away with this one by a good 20 points at least.
I think so too.
The next game is the 3 seed Webster versus Groton area. As we said before, for all we know, Mobridge is good, and so is Groton. So this could be something to look at too. I mean, Webster and Groton had played earlier in the year, so it's something to look at. But it's at Webster. They've played each other before in the regular season. Webster only won by a little bit. I want to say like 14.
I want to say between 10 and 14.
So something like that. I think Webster wins the thing, but I think Groton at least keeps it a decent game.
I think Groton's going to keep it close. I mean, this is like a Garrettson type team. Don't sleep on them. But I think Webster pulls this one out by a touchdown or 2.
I think that there's a quarterback from Webster, the Holland kid. He's just an absolute animal there at quarterback. He does a lot of quarterback smash type stuff, and I mean his running backs aren't the greatest, but he can really do great stuff when he does his thing.
Yeah.
So we'll go next to Mount Vernon Plankton versus Chamberlain. That's tonight.
Or yesterday, depending on when we get this up.
Yeah.
Unlikely we played it yesterday.
Yeah. So hopefully we came away with that one if you're watching it.
If you're watching it after, I mean, this has been deemed by one of the Argus Leader Sports guys the game of the week to watch because Chamberlain, as Mr. M told us Tuesday, they don't think of us as a threat. They think they can come in here and pull it out.
I think that we need to have people at the game to win the game because they're going to get discouraged if we have thousands of people there yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
We have to get some tempo offensively and get some enthusiasm because we have to keep our energy levels up, or we're not going to be able to do anything tonight.
Yeah.
These guys are too big. I'm not going to say they're the smartest kids out there, but these kids are too big and too fast.
There was a kid that got ejected in the first quarter.
Yeah, the kid I have to block tonight, Ruger Forrester. He's going to be an interesting one to go against. But I think Mount Vernon Plainton takes this one by at least a solid 20 points tonight.
I think so. I think they're probably going to keep it close at the half, but as we've said many times before, as our coach even says, we are, I don't want to say this to be like cocky or anything, but I'm pretty sure we are the best conditioned team in the state.
Oh yeah, hands down, because some of the things we do at practice, I mean, I don't want to give away exactly what we do, but some of the things we do at practice just really help out what we do as a team, and it's nice, like for some of those things.
Yeah.
Winter, Lee Deadwood, 6 p.m. Central Time in Winter.
We 50'd Lee Deadwood last year. I think Winter's going to 50 him this year.
I think you're right.
That's just all I have to say about this one.
It's gonna be a really, really tough time for Lee Deadwood because they're gonna be going right back home as soon as they get there.
Yeah.
St. Thomas More, Elk Point Jefferson. This is gonna be a game to look at too.
This is another one too. I mean,
the 7-10 Elk Point Jefferson. Bridgewater. They gave Bridgewater Emory fits for about a good quarter and a half, but that was against Bridgewater Emory. I think that the way that Elk Point Jefferson plays, if they can stop the pass at all costs, they can stop the pass. St. Thomas More gets defeated.
Yeah, if they can stop the pass and
Elk Point Jefferson can win this game. I'm not. That's how it's going to be.
This is another one where it's like toss it, flip a coin. But if Elk Point Jefferson can stop the pass game of St. Thomas More, then and make them run the ball, which they really don't do that often. Excuse me. I think Elk Point Jefferson can win this game, and I think they might actually will. I think they will win this game.
I think they will too, but it's going to be rough and it's going to be tough to tell. I think we should just stop there on that. We can go week by week.
Yeah, well, let's go week by week on that one. So
we'll do the next topic.
It's a good solid time meter, about 10 minutes there.
Yeah, it was a nice one.
Let's see, number 11. Can the Patriots in the NFL here? Can the Patriots go 16-0 on the season?
Oh, definitely. I mean, obviously the way they're playing right now and who they just got. One thing I would like to note is who was the wide receiver that went on the IR? They put
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon got put on the IR. Yes.
Yep.
He got put on the IR yesterday.
And he was surprised. He posted on Instagram and said, "Interesting." ... with a question mark.
You think? I think they did that because it frees up roster space for them.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't feel 100%. But right now, the Patriots are probably figuring out who they want to drop, and because
there was talk that they're going to waive him after the season once he gets.
Yeah.
Once he gets.
But he's having a pretty good season, and obviously he's had some issues, off-field issues, but Tom Brady likes him. Mm-hmm. So I think.
Well, Tom Brady likes anyone that can catch the ball. I mean, if you think about it, but he likes anyone that can catch, which that's what they're bringing in. They're bringing wide receivers that can catch the ball are really good. So.
Yeah.
I mean, there we go.
I think that they can, and they will too. Their defense is just stout, and it really helps me out in fantasy too.
I saw an interesting Instagram post by ESPN that said if the Patriots did not play a single snap of offense this year, they would be 3-3-1.
Nice.
I mean, that is hands down impressive. All right, topic 13 is staying in the NFL. Can the 49ers stay undefeated?
Same thing like the Patriots. It will be interesting because they got a matchup against Christian McCaffrey on Sunday, and that's something to look out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a good game for sure, but I think that the Niners will run away with this one just because of who they are and what they've had so far. But I mean, it could be an upset. So I don't know. This is probably one of the only games that the Niners
what do you think about
away.
If they can stop Christian McCaffrey, when you look at his stats, he is the leading rusher and the leading receiver.
Yep.
So if they can stop him, which he is very hard to stop, they really don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's why he's doing so much is because they just give him the ball every play.
And the Panthers can't really do anything other than that. I also seen a stat though that Kyle Allen is the only quarterback in the whole league to not throw an interception so far. So the Niners have their work cut off for them, and it's going to be a good game, especially if Christian McCaffrey cannot do well, because then I can win in fantasy.
Yeah, there we go.
Buttons over in the fantasy podcast is telling me that Christian McCaffrey is going to put up 42 and win in the game this week. I don't know. That could be definitely something.
Definitely something to watch there.
Yeah.
All right, staying in the NFL, who is the best NFL quarterback in the last 20 years?
Okay. I think if I would have to guess, or I probably have to say, I think it's Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, just because of what they've done with some teams that weren't great.
Yep.
I mean, you see Aaron Rodgers, the year that he had a Super Bowl run, he had a really, really great team of wide receivers, and that's what helped him. So I think Aaron Rodgers just does amazing stuff with people who aren't great, and he turns them into really good players.
I'd have to agree with you there if you really wanted to choose. I mean, Tom Brady, sure, he's won all these Super Bowls and won all these deals, but
best coach. He is the best coach in the NFL.
Best coach in the NFL. When hasn't he had the best wide receivers in the NFL? Yeah. I mean, so when you really look at it, same thing you said is he took not so great players and made them great because he could get them the ball. So, yeah, I think either Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers would have to be the candidates for that.
Getting down to the final topics of the day.
Here we have switching gears to the MLB. This topic was made before the World Series started. We played 2 games, and the Nationals have won them by a combined of 12 runs. Astros or Nationals?
Okay. I told Daniel Loftman, classmate of mine, that
MLB enthusiast, by the way.
He said Astros in 4. I said Nationals in 5. Astros are not winning in 4. That's a hands down not happening. So it's gonna be funny to see what happens. I think the Astros.
Both those games were at Minute Maid Park in Houston.
I'm still taking the. Yeah, you're right. I'm still gonna take the Nationals in 5 though. I think the Astros will take a game, and then the Nationals will go back down to Houston.
That's the thing. You're really seeing them now. The point we made I think was it last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, where we said you can tell the Astros are getting stretched.
Yeah, you are.
And that's how they beat the Yankees, because they didn't get stretched to those 7 games. But I think that...
And they're going to have to now, because they're going to last 2.
I mean, the minimum they can go is 6.
Yeah.
So they'd have to win out, and that'd be their 6 games. But you're really seeing them get really stretched out. And if the Nationals... They've gone 8-0 since they dropped 2-1 to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So they're just hard to stop. They caught fire, and the fire hasn't gone out. So I think Nationals probably 5 or 6.
Yep. What all topics do we have left?
Let's see. Did that one. We already talked about this one. Can we rebound after 3-11 week in our pick'em?
I don't know.
We already talked about upsets in Class 11B. Last one here. Oh, no. 9. Number 9. We'll do this one here. Did Aaron Rodgers put in an MVP-winning performance against Oakland last week?
I think he definitely did, because, what was it, 6 or 5?
6 total touchdowns.
That's impressive. You don't see that very often, so definitely. I mean, he did.
He definitely put an MVP candidate.
He needs to keep doing that, though, if he wants to keep doing that. I don't know.
It was a really good performance. I mean, he threw the ball well, he ran the ball well, so I mean, he just played really good.
He did.
I put him up in there for the MVP talk. But all right, final topic here: NCAA football. Who does Lee Corso pick for SDSU, NDSU?
Lee Corso is obviously the guy who puts the helmet on. Whoever team he thinks is going to win. I think he puts on NDSU. I think he does. Or maybe he just tries to get SDSU hyped and put the SDSU
he gets the SDSU helmet to here and then takes it off and puts the NDSU.
Yeah.
He's done that many times before.
So I bet that's what he does. Yep.
I think he picks NDSU, to be honest. So
I am so ready for Saturday though. It's gonna be crazy.
Insane. So 25,000 people, and then however many the Dyke House can fit for people. So it's gonna be packed. Brooklyn's gonna be packed.
Yep.
So. And with that, that is it for episode 13 of the podcast. Thank you all for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next episode next week.